Clapped in. We are clapped in. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Well, welcome everybody. No, I'm not doing that. Definitely not doing that.
Welcome everyone, and welcome to another, and then welcome to this, and welcome to that, and everyone's welcome.
Welcome, Bernie, to episode 7 of the Two Ball Golf Show, and they said it would never last.
Hang on a minute, that's my line.
That is your line. That is your one and only line for the Two Ball.
The only bit of planning I do in the whole of this particular, or any episode ever filmed on this particular platform.
They did say it would never last. I don't know who actually said it would never last.
I don't know, Dan. We've got a lot of critics.
We do have a lot of critics, and I think if you go over to my channel and watch my most recent Sunday morning show, you will see some interesting comments on there.
You will, yeah.
Which I actually welcome the comments, to be fair.
On my channel, I don't welcome any of those comments.
No, you switch those comments off.
I just delete them. I just get rid of them. Like, you're not welcome. If you don't like it, go somewhere else.
Well, I'm very polite. So
I'm not.
Yeah, you're not so much.
No.
So we've got a number of things that we want to get through in this podcast, Bernie.
We have, yeah.
Of which you've brought most of them to the table this week, which is delightful.
So if they're rubbish, then blame me.
Then blame Bernie. Yeah. One thing that I think is really important and is hot in the topic right now is the official world rankings and where we're at right now with those. Because it's a bit of a mess, isn't it? It's a bit of a minefield and a bit of a mess. Tours coming and going, but ultimately the world rankings stay there, and it's all about how people get official world rankings to be able to compete in the biggest events, which is the majors, really. Is that not what we're focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the main criteria, unless you're a past major champion where you're sort of exempt for so many years, depending on which particular major championship you win. But the actual, to be eligible to play in certain majors, it's world ranking based.
Yeah.
And at the moment, you're not necessarily getting the best, in my opinion, the best players in the world playing in all the major championships. There is some players that would, if they were still PGA members, or even DP World Tour members, would be playing in major championships because their world rankings and their place in golf would be in a higher position on ability, not just on what tour they're playing.
As it stands right now, though, those players have actually played in the majors, haven't they?
They have, because they've still retained enough points, because I think it's done on a 2-year system where you lose points depending on your performance on that particular event 2 years previously. They've still got enough points gathered that when they're losing points, they're not losing at a rapid rate that will prevent them playing in major championships. But I think from next year, and certainly the year after, that will become a massive issue for several golfers who don't have an exemption through being a major champion.
Which is why the LIV Golf League, I don't know what to call them, league or tour? Let's go with league.
Yeah.
The LIV Golf League have been fighting tooth and nail now to get these world ranking points. Things of which, and I'll come on to the Golf Channel, but things of which in the media they're saying that Greg Norman, when he set up the tour, he promised these players that they would all get world ranking points through the events that they competed in on LIV, and therefore would be able to continue their journeys within the major championships.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really want to touch on the point that they knew, or they didn't know by the sound of it, but that there was a possibility they would not be eligible for certain majors. They might get banned from them for joining that tour. That was always a possibility at the start. But I personally want to see the best players in the world playing in the biggest tournaments in the world, no matter where you play at or what tour you're part of. Me personally, that takes away from all of the, whether you agree with LIV Tour or whether you agree with the players' decisions. I just personally, maybe it's a selfish point of view, if I go to the Open Championship, I want to see the best players in the world competing for some of the biggest prizes in golf.
Okay, I would think that the majority of people out there listening or watching this Two Ball Golf Show would agree with that.
Yeah.
Now, the facts are that the LIV have been turned down with regards to them becoming a ranking tour.
Yeah, for various reasons. It's the way the criteria of the tournament, isn't it? That it's a team event rather than an individual event, which
Yeah.
you don't. Part of their rules is you can't accumulate world ranking points by playing in a team event.
Yeah.
Which I understand that. There is an individual element to those team events, which we know about. But I think with the team event, you can probably tell each other what club you're hitting, and
I don't know if that's the case. I think the one thing that jumped out to me, and this came through another media source, but the one thing that jumped out to me was that one of the players had openly said that they didn't force a putt on a certain hole because he was doing well as in the individual, but he wasn't focusing on the individual. He wanted his team to win. Yeah. So he didn't force a putt because he didn't want to push it 3 foot past and miss the one coming back, or whatever he was, whichever way he was thinking about that.
He was concentrating more on the team. He was
concentrating on the team than the individual, and therefore that would have a knock-on effect. Now, having said that, they're not playing for any world ranking points at that moment in time. Therefore, their mindset would probably change, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
if you're playing for world ranking points, you're going to go down the line of, right, I'm playing individual, and as long as I bring my A game and I play well as an individual, my team's going to hopefully do well if all 4 of us do well together.
Because golf is a selfish individual game, isn't it?
Yeah.
When all said and done, the majority of the stuff we play is for our own personal
individual
game.
Stuff.
Yeah, so I understand that. That does make sense. But I mean, there's going to have to be a compromise, isn't there?
100%, give and take. LIV may need to change some things up a little bit, of which I would imagine that they're probably open to doing by the sound of things. Yeah. But the official world ranking guys, things are changing. Sport is changing. Golf is changing. So therefore, they need to also get with the times as well. It can't just be about one particular way of playing golf and one particular way of getting the scoring system going.
No. The almost the majors have to be, and some of the more prestigious events have to be away from the regular stuff and sort of almost put on a pedestal. Yeah. And have different criteria for qualifying for them. Yeah. I don't know what the answer is. Maybe not using the world ranking system. Maybe a separate system where you give so many places for each tour. I guess you could rank that on how prestigious you see each tour. So the PGA Tour would get more places for say the Open Championship than what the LIV would get, and also the DP World Tour. How you come across or how you get to that criteria and those would be very difficult. Or I mean, it would take a lot of working out, I guess, or whether you do some qualifying for it with another tournament to get into it, but like you do with Open qualifying, maybe. Yeah. But they have had an idea, haven't they? I mean, at the moment they're in negotiations, LIV with the RNA, aren't they?
Well, yeah, that's you're the one that's brought that to the table. I want to know from you exactly what's kind of happened there, because I'm a little bit late to the party on this one.
Yeah, so basically, obviously, LIV sort of countering against the fact that they're not getting any Order of Merit or world ranking points for any of their events. Their players are dropping out. Probably for them personally, their players are being seen as less important, or their standard. If they're dropping out at the top, say they've got no players in the top 100 in the next 5 years, then that sort of devalues their tour. They feel like it does. Yeah. Plus, it's probably going to discourage other PGA members to join that tour if they know that they're going to not be able to play in major championships, etc. So they've actually gone straight to the RNA, LIV have, and they're at the moment negotiating a number of places for the 2024 Open Championship at Troon. I think they're trying to get 12 places. Okay. So for the people that aren't eligible already, they're providing another 12 places, which I don't know how they're going to decide who gets it, whether it's done on their Order of Merit or whether they have separate tournaments or they just pick it maybe even. I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, but that's what they're trying to do. But from the research I've done, it seems that they're going to compromise with giving 4 extra places to LIV players that are not eligible.
Wow. Well, that will be interesting. And then what will be interesting from that is what happens off the back of that. The PGA Championships, the US Open, then the Masters. How does that change? My gut feeling is that I would think that the US are going to be a little bit more closed shop than possibly the RNA because of the ties with the US PGA Tour, possibly.
You would think, though, they're probably... I mean, it probably hasn't been reported yet, but maybe that LIV are in negotiations with with other bodies or people running some of those tournaments to get more of their players in their events. You would think, because you don't always hear about stuff that's going on and different chats until the news is broke. A bit like when in anything, some of it comes out, some of it doesn't. So I'd hope, or you'd think that maybe they're already in negotiations with them, but I don't know. It's a tricky one as well, because you think of LIV, so they're doing like a relegation. So that some of those golfers that are towards the bottom of their tour, lesser names, etc., are getting kicked off their tour or demoted down to maybe a potential second division or back onto the Asian tour.
Yeah.
But some of the team captains have had horrendous years and their golf has, deteriorated rapidly. But they were not thrown off the tour or told to leave the tour. They're actually staying. People like Lee Westwood, who hasn't had a great run of it, would have been relegated.
Yeah.
I think Lee Westwood was one. I'm not sure about Poulter. There's a couple of big names that would have been in their relegation zone, so to speak, that would have lost or wouldn't have been wanted on the tour, but because they're such big names, they're keeping them in because they're captains or their main name.
So have they not bought in? Did they not buy in
I don't know,
as part of the franchise?
I guess so, but
by the teams. So it's down to them to decide how their team is set up.
So LIV gets 4 places in the
Open Championship.
Right, we're going to give it to Lee Westwood. We're going to give it
but
to...
But there is an individual thing, Order of Merit style thing going on. So maybe they'll just go on the basis of the Order of Merit and see how that goes, which is the fairest way.
All I'd say is that with that tour, nothing would surprise me.
No,
if they did a wild card.
But I would think the RNA would have something to say about who gets in and how they get in from there.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you?
You would hope
they'd
so.
have some criteria again that.
Because ultimately you want the best. It's not necessarily the event is what brings the crowds.
Yeah.
For a major, it's not always the players that bring the crowds for a major.
No.
You'd like to think the Open Championship can draw its own crowds for what it is.
But you want the best players in the world.
You do,
in my opinion, at the time competing for. It elevates the tournament, and you have like Brian Harman when he won this year, and you've got all the best players in the world. But if you're missing arguably a dozen players that would have been in it, to me that devalues the tournament.
Yeah.
Just like to take this opportunity to thank our sponsors, Just Golf Online. For all quality goods and clothing, please check them out. It's from liquidation stock and also any clearance items. This particular item I'm wearing now is also available, so thank you for their continued support. Now,
Phil Mickelson has said that he or they know of players that want to come over and compete on LIV. I don't know, do you watch any of the YouTube channel of the Golf Channel? Because obviously we don't get the Golf Channel over here.
Dan,
so
I only watch your YouTube channel.
Oh dear, okay, now that you've resubscribed, that's lovely. I watch a little bit of the Golf Channel on the YouTube bit, so they take snippets of what's been going on, and there's two guys that sit on the panel, should we say, and discuss their morning drive or whichever one it is, I can't remember, Golf Central maybe.
Yeah.
And they went, well, not they, because there was 2 of them. One of them certainly is an Irish guy that works on the channel, and he went to town on Phil Mickelson and talking about things like propaganda, and they're obviously not a big fan of what Phil has to offer or the way in which he's been outspoken. Gone about his business over the years. But he went to town on not just LIV, but the Saudi thing. He's still going to town on what happened previously in the Saudi and all of that side of things. But I really, I nearly even commented on the video.
Yeah.
I had to take a step back and have a think about what I was about to say, because, I'm in that arena and I've got to be careful as to what I say and who sees it and where that kind of goes from there. But I was just thinking to myself, they're talking about propaganda, and actually, are they the driving force of propaganda for the PGA Tour? Is the Golf Channel supported so heavily by the PGA Tour that those guys are washed in a way in which they have to promote the PGA Tour? My gut feeling is that the Golf Channel's there to showcase golf. They can have an opinion, but ultimately they're there to show off what golf is done throughout the world.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But a lot of the time, you're told what you can and can't say. You're restricted by certain things. Like, you're a YouTuber. You use Titleist golf equipment.
Yeah.
You're not going to say the new irons are rubbish. Like, why would you do that? Titleist are going to say, hang on a minute, he's paid to use our equipment, and you suddenly slag something off, you're going to lose that contract. So I would say that it's probably in a similar place where they are PGA based. They're probably even connected with the PGA. The PGA might have even set up. I don't know the origins of that channel, but they're not going to. You're not going to slag off potentially an organisation that supports you. You can't do that, can you? They're going to be pro. If they're pro PGA Tour, they're going to hate LIV, aren't they? If you're LIV, you're going to hate PGA Tour. It's just it's the way of the world, isn't it?
Surely their objective as the golf channel, it's a bit like Sky Sports in some ways, isn't it? You know, Sky Sports is there to promote golf and to help push golf along, whichever avenue.
You would like to think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether that's being a bit looking through sort of
tinted rose
closed glasses and all that, and I mean, in an ideal world that would be the case, but from what you've said, I've personally not seen that channel, but I would say it's quite pro PGA Tour.
What it did to me at that point is it you know, I've always been sat on the fence a little bit with. I'm massive for change, so even though I'm a bit of a traditionalist to a point, I still like the fact that there are different forms of playing golf out there.
Yeah,
love it. You know, I still I was thinking about it the other day. Like, if you're trying to promote golf, think about having 2 holes on a green. One's a bigger bucket hole and the other one's a smaller hole, and you then can play to different forms of how you want to play, and there's different tees to where you tee off from, and all of those sorts of things. There's loads of opportunities to play lots of different styles of golf.
Yeah.
It was more that when I listened to what was going on the golf channel, it actually pushed me more towards defending almost LIV.
So I'm completely the opposite to you. I tried watching a LIV event on the first couple of events to come out, and it might have got better, but for me it was unwatchable. Didn't enjoy it. There was everything about it I didn't like.
Yeah.
I couldn't see many positives to it. I didn't like the fact it was shotgun, everyone was on the golf course. Couldn't tell
who was doing what.
Why would you want to finish on the 4th hole? I didn't get it. I didn't like it. It just, for me, it was everything. It just wasn't for me. I wouldn't.
And there's a lot of people out there saying that it's not for them.
I wouldn't say I was a traditionalist in clothing or anything like that. I wear hoodies, I wear joggers on the golf course, I wear trainer type shoes.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not walking around in my +4s and my Pringle jumpers, but I just didn't like it. I like the fact that it all finishes on the same hole. It's an individual sport. It's 72 holes. It's the purest form of golf. You're playing stroke play. This all team event, and if I want to see football crowds, I'll watch football. Okay,
moving on then.
That was controversial, wasn't it?
Well, yes and no. I mean, shouting and balling. I mean, you could start with the waste management event over. You know, that's the arena they've created, isn't it?
Yeah.
And LIV are just trying to copy that in some ways. Do you like that? Do you like the beer bottles coming out, flying over the tee? Tiger Woods getting his hole in one. I mean, Tiger Woods fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, that was a great moment in golf, but I wouldn't want to see that at every single event. Like, once in a blue moon, or something a bit different, or if you play a team event when the men and ladies team up together and stuff, or you play the odd team event, that's fine. Yeah, that's a bit different. It's a different dynamic to golf, but I don't want to see. I think it's overkill if you do it every single week. If you had a waste management hole on every single tournament you played in, it just doesn't. To me, you lose something. If you have it too often, you just lose the.
But you say that if you think about the tour travels. It's a bit like the Open Championship. The Open Championship travels from Ireland to Scotland to England, and down through the country.
Doesn't go in Wales.
Doesn't go to Wales,
no,
unfortunately. Yeah, well, one day it will, I'm sure. But the idea of it, and a bit like the US PGA Tour, is that obviously the US PGA Tour follows the sunshine, but going from California to Florida to Georgia to South Carolina, wherever it's going or moving around the country, it means that it's giving crowds from all those different places or states, and for us it's countries, to go and watch your favourite players in different locations. A bit like what LIV are trying to do. They're trying to grow the game of golf and push it around the world. Okay, Australia. Surely those people that are in Phoenix that have that throw the beer cans over there and the excitement of the arena, well, the Floridians want a bit of that. and the Californians want a bit of that, and the Michigan guys want a bit of that. So why can't they have that in all of their places of where they play their events?
So for every single event? Oh,
for every
God.
event, they have a stadium hole, because the excitement
thanks.
of that waste management one, from a viewer, as in watching it on TV, you might get bored of that. But actually, from an atmosphere point of view of being at that event, then surely those types of things are what helps drive. You look at the waste management event, doesn't attract the best players.
So do you think the Open Championship then needed that to make it a great event?
No, but what they've created, haven't they? That if you look at
on every hole, but it's controlled.
Yeah, but
It's not over the
no.
top,
What I
not
mean
throwing
is,
beer cans.
what I'm talking about is the arena type of setup. Like the arena of the waste management side of things.
You can have an arena set up for a hole, but I don't want to see people chucking beer cans in there.
No. I'm
making
talking
loads of
about
noise.
the arena holes that we're getting there with the waste management.
For me, that's a separate concept, because that works. Like the Open, I think it was the 16th or 17th? 16th maybe.
No, 17 it was. 17, par 3.
I mean, I sat there on the practice rounds Monday and Tuesday for a couple of hours both days and just watched people play it, and you could see there was a dozen or so fans in that actual arena. And when I saw it on the TV, how brilliant it was, and I saw it. Thought, whoever's designed this is literally knows what they're doing, because you had like a horseshoe around the tee, but you also had stands up by the green on the right hand side, and then I think you had people to the left as well, and it was a brilliant arena, and you can do that. But I just don't. I think the whole waste management thing where they're throwing beer cans, making loads of noise, shouting before someone hits it, which is what LIV seems to be basing at least 1 or 2 holes on every single tournament.
Golf but louder.
Yeah, I don't. That's for me. That's a no for me.
Okay, moving on. So there's not been many female participants playing on the PGA Tour.
No.
I want to say over the years, I think there's been about 4 or 5 that have actually competed on the PGA Tour. Well, Lexi Thompson did it.
She did
recently.
A couple of weeks ago, didn't she? Yeah.
Playing in the Shriners Children's Open.
She did well. I mean, she had a poor start, made a good recovery, and then sort of pushed on and got very close to actually making the cut. I think she finished a few back in the end because she dropped a few in the last few holes. But it was a great effort to make a cut on the PGA Tour, which I think's only been done once before.
Yeah.
A long time
ago.
So for her to do that, and she hasn't really had great form going into that. She hasn't really done a lot on the LPGA Tour particularly. She hasn't had a stellar year or anything like that. So for her, probably not playing her best golf, but to still get very close, just shows the strength and depth of the Ladies Tour and how it's improving year on year. And she got close, didn't she? Would you like to have seen her make the cut?
I would, yeah.
Yeah.
I really would have liked to have seen her make the cut. And I think, the facts are like, do you like it? Did you like to see a female participate? I mean, there's, you go on Twitter, which is, which can be a poisonous place. Or X. Let's take Twitter out of X. You go on X, and it's there's a lot of comments about, she's taking a spot away from another potential tour player getting in and playing in the event. But
it was mixed, wasn't it? I'd say it was 50-50 with the comments, what I saw anyway. But I mean,
I think it's smart.
Yeah,
because it's drawing in the crowd of people.
You're elevating
an event.
I don't want to say average because that's being unkind to that event, but it's not as prestigious an event as with her playing in it. It elevated that event up a couple of levels. You probably had more casual viewers watching it. You had more lady golfers, I'd say, and ladies watching it because they wanted to, it's something a bit unique. I mean, I wouldn't want to see it on every event again, but I think it was a good thing. It brought more sponsorship in because you'd have elevated the event. Even if she took the place of one male player, she's bringing in more sponsorship and more money for that tour, I would suggest, on her playing in it. So that's going to filter down anyway.
Yeah,
and it's only one event, it's not every week.
The argument is that you could end up with a younger player coming in who does well that week and then gets their card or moves on through the ranks or whatever. But I look at it and think, well, these events still need to be paid for. You look at the PGA Tour and they were struggling. This is why it all got a bit messy, wasn't it? Because they weren't able to keep up with the demands of what their payments were, and therefore sponsors are going to pull out. Sponsors, it's a bit like I thought of it in in our way. And I thought, right, okay, so Lexi Thompson playing in an event, or we give a spot to Paul or James Ruth, okay?
Yeah.
Paul and James Ruth, as good as they are, they're not going to bring in any sponsorship or crowds other than maybe a few local people who want to go and watch them play.
Yeah.
They're not going to bring in anything like that. Yes, it might help progress their career, but for the actual event itself, they're not going to bring anything in. So putting in a younger player or a journeyman pro who's about to lose his tour card or whatever, you can see that the heartstrings of that one. But these events need covering. They're desperate to get sponsors involved, and putting a Lexi Thompson, putting a female golfer into that event creates a bit of a storm in a teacup to a point.
Yeah.
But then she gets close to making the cut is mega for that event.
Yeah, 100%. And it not only will it sort of elevate the PGA Tour, but the LPGA Tour as well, because, you know, she I mean, don't get me wrong, she'd be a known name in ladies golf. She's a big name in ladies golf, but maybe some of the casual audience that were watching that event or solely focused on PGA Tour might not know her, which then might bring people to go, oh, hang on, there's an LPGA event in our hometown this next month. I'm going to go and watch it. I know her, and it's got to be good and beneficial for numerous tours and numerous people and numerous, you know, it's good for everyone, I think.
With that in mind, then, should there be more female players playing in PGA, DP World Tour events?
I would say if they were good enough to play in those events, they should be playing. I mean, if you
you could argue that Lexi at that point wasn't playing good enough. She's not good enough, but
so what I'm saying is
she's still going to bring in more crowds than even a top 10 player who's ranked above her. She's going to bring in more crowds because of her history, because of her profile.
Or maybe some of the lady golfers should then go and do Monday qualifying for some of these events. Think of it as a bit of a challenge. If you do, I mean, the prize money on their tour's not anywhere near what the men earn. I mean, making the cut in a PGA event would probably earn a lot of money, and she'd need a really good week on her own tour. So maybe they should try and encourage some of the lady golfers to try and go and qualify for the event on a Monday.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're putting it into a different scenario, if you had, like, say, a lady golfer come out and dominate the game for 18 months, 2 years, a bit like when Woods jumped onto the scene.
Yeah.
So you had, you know, Michelle Wee was similar time to him just after, and everyone was saying how she was going to dominate the game. Didn't quite work out. But let's take her as an example. She'd have come out and won 10, 12 times on the tour. Every second time she teed it up, she won, a bit like what Woods did. He was winning 50% of the events. Then she could potentially play on that tour, and you'd want to see her on that tour, wouldn't you? If she dominated her own tour, because it makes that less competitive. You're like, right, let's get her on the tour. She can make cuts.
Yeah. She
wins money. Then that would be good for golf, wouldn't it?
I think so.
It's the same with
really
the darts.
do.
You look at the darts now. Some of the ladies, you got like 3 or 4 of the ladies now play in men's tour events. They play in the World Championship. They qualify. Some of them are given wild cards, like Fallon Sherrock. She played and she beat a couple of men a couple of years ago. And there's a young girl now called Bo something. I don't know her second name. People probably know it, but she's 16, 17, and she's winning minor tour events, and they're saying she's going to be the next big thing in ladies darts. She's winning ladies events. So potentially she could, 20, 22, 23, she could be on the men's tour permanently. Yeah. Which would be great to see some female golfers get onto the PGA Tour or any of the tours. Don't you think?
I completely agree. I'd love to see more.
As long as they play off the same tees, and there's no, you know, they can't play off the forward tees. They play off the same course. Yeah. Everything's the same, and if they're good enough, they play on that tour as well.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree with that. Now we move on to. He's slowly becoming one of my favourite players.
Even more than your man.
What, Louis?
Louis.
No. Different. Very different approach. Okay. But Adrian Meronk. Yeah. Okay, let me get that right. Adrian.
He's your favourite player. You can't even say his name.
It's a tongue twister. Adrian Meronk.
Awkward.
His performance this week just gone down in Spain at one of my favourite golf courses in the world, Sotogrande, which is beautiful. Absolutely world class, beautiful golf course. Love it. He won. And this is the player that we talked about with the Ryder Cup. And don't get me wrong, you can't argue with the performance of the Ryder Cup because they won. Would Adrian Meronk made any difference to the result of that the victory over in Italy? No. So Adrian Meronk goes out and wins DP World Tour event. Feel like he's got something to prove?
Yeah, I mean, you got to, he was arguably should have been playing Ryder Cup on what he'd achieved in golf over the qualifying period.
Yeah.
Unlucky not to be in it.
Yeah.
Would have been in a lot of people's teams.
Yeah.
Had won at that golf course in Italy previously. So and was way up the order of merit. So yeah, he should really have been, in my opinion, been in it. But yeah, I mean, he's got a point to prove. You've always got points to prove in life, haven't you? It's what motivates people, what motivates me. It's probably what motivates you as well. So, and he has come out firing, hasn't he?
Well, this little story is quite close to my heart because I've got a little story for you.
Okay. Story time with Dan.
Story time with me. So everybody buckle in. When I first went to America for university, I'd finished second in the order of merit for the county team. Okay?
Devon won.
Devon county team. I was second. Paul was third. I think Damien G was leading it, at the time, and I finished second. Anyway, so I go off to America. And my first year in the States, I did quite well. I qualified for the team and started playing on the team. And actually, did I win? I might have won an event, or I did very well. Anyway, came back. And at the time, it was a little bit of a poo-poo. You shouldn't be going out to America. You should be sticking with your county. You should be sticking with a home golf, blah, 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 and all this. So anyway, I didn't get picked for the 10-man team for Southwest Counties Week. Okay?
I can add to this story in a minute.
Can you?
Yeah.
So I didn't get picked for the 10-man team.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind I'd finished second in the order of merit, but because I hadn't been there all the way through the winter because I'd been over in America playing college golf, I was basically asked to compete well in the first couple of events, which was literally like 2 events when I got back. Didn't perform to that level, wasn't selected for the 10-man team.
Yeah.
Okay. I was very upset, very, very disappointed, very upset. Kind of a 2 fingers up to Devon County Golf at that particular time. I was just fuming. And I remember having a ding-dong with my dad at the time.
Yeah.
Because, not that it was a ding-dong, I just ranted at him.
Yeah.
I don't even think he responded to me. I just ranted at him at that particular
Your
point.
dad was a bit fiery as well.
He could fire up, but I kind of lost it. And I'm sure he gave me a few words of wisdom of, calm down, son, sort of thing. But anyway, that was the same year that I got through to final qualifying for the Open.
Yeah.
So I missed the Southwest Counties Week, which was one of my favourite weeks. I loved that week. It was fantastic. So I missed that. And then I went to Open qualifying, got through to final qualifying at the Open, and then I was phoned the week after final qualifying to say, we'd like you to come and play in the next county match at Woodbury. Do you want to come and play? And luckily, my dad was there when the phone call came in, because I was about to let rip and say, no, thank you. I'm happy. I'm going back to college again in a minute. I don't need to be playing in this. I've got other things to do. Anyway, the end result was I ended up playing.
My story finished a little bit differently.
Go on, you'll go on.
So I had a similar situation to you. So I'd played in all the county events. So I'd played second team for a couple of years. We won the Wessex League a couple of times. Yeah. I'd played first team, so I'd played when the likes of James and Kev Harper and your brother were off playing in national stuff. I'd get in the team. So it was like
play with me at Perranporth.
Yeah, so I played with you. Played quite a few first team matches. Didn't get in the Southwest Week the first year, even though I was like third on the order of merit, played in all the events, had some good finishes. Yeah. The second year that I was sort of playing first team, I did it for 2 years. I was Devon Salver. I won the Devon Salver, which is the second best one you can win behind the county champs. Yeah. I was Devon Youth Champion, and I was like second on the Order of Merit, and I was playing some really good golf. My handicap was coming down. I was low one round scratch around that area when on the old system. So, so playing some really good golf, like as good as I'd played. And I was told going to county championships that if I had a decent finish, if I qualified, I'd be in the team. Brilliant. So, awesome. So I qualified top 16, but lost in the first round. Can't remember who to. I lost in the first round, but I carried on playing in the other events, and I won one of the other stroke plays on that weekend. So I think I'm in it. And then someone came through and won who wasn't in the team, and I was basically bumped out of the team. But no one told me until they announced the team. So I sat there thinking I was in the team, looking forward, because if you play counties week, you got your tie, you got your blazer, you got your bag with Devon on, you get all the stuff. And I was 21, 22, and I was like, I've done it. Like, I've literally sat there. They announced the team, they've gone through the team, all the players you'd expect to be in there. Get towards the end, if I'm going to get announced in a minute, didn't get announced. No one told me, so I was like, just sat there thinking, that's really nice. So just didn't say nothing, wanted to say something, but didn't. It was at Teignmouth, got in my car, drove home. Counties week was like the week after, or 2 weeks after. I'd booked the week off work as well, which was even more annoying.
Yeah.
And then I get a phone call the week after counties week. They had a county match. You're in the can you play in the team down at such and such? And I was like, no, thanks, but I'm not good enough to play Southwest week. I'm not playing. So the captain at the time then responded with, well, if you refuse to play county, then you'll never play for the county again while I'm anything to do with the county. And I was like, that's great, because I've just turned pro. So I turned pro, and that was the end of that. But I did play county again when you were captain. So, yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
I was team manager for the second team.
Yeah, you were, yeah.
That was good. We had a good little team there.
We did, yeah.
In fact, we won the league.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the end of my county days. I was a bit more fiery than you in those days, I think.
I think when you're pushed into a corner, you're certainly you are more fiery than me.
Yeah. But I mean that's great for we sort of.
I'm not very good. I'm just very bad at confrontation. So as much as I wanted to say no, thank you, that wasn't going to happen.
No, but I mean, that's his motivation now has got to be to take his game to the next level, to win a major, or keep improving and get into that Ryder Cup team for the States in just under 2 years' time. And I reckon I think he'll be there.
Oh, he's
just qualify
tracking.
And he's going in the right direction.
Yeah.
It's great to see a country he's from a country which is not necessarily
Poland,
a renowned golfing destination or golfing heavyweight, I guess.
Yeah.
Country-wise, I mean, I can't name any other Polish golfers.
No.
People probably know there is obviously they've probably got some good golfers, but that's obviously going to help elevate golf in Poland, and maybe But it's brilliant to see, and hopefully he can get. I think he'll make the Ryder Cup.
Oh, well, I'd like to see that as well, because he is slowly becoming one of my favourites. A story close to my heart, I think. Well, I think that's it for this week's Two Ball Golf Show, Bernie. Yep. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for bringing 3 or 4 very important subjects to this week's show.
You're welcome. I enjoyed that one. It was a good one. Good discussion.
Good chat. Well done, you. Right, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you again very soon.